Be not afraid. Jesus is on the way to encounter you. Join Father Fabian Moncada and Wilfredo Matamoros every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio. Also tune in Sundays at 10:30 a.m. for Be Not Afraid in Spanish. Now, hear the good news and be not afraid.
Brought to you by Associated Ophthalmologists.
Radio 1150 AM, 88.5 FM, 94.5 FM. The spirit of the church is the heart of the youth people. And the youth people is the hope for the present and future generations, said Pope Francis in the last World Youth Day. So today we have a special guest, as I mentioned at the beginning of our program. Jessica Maciel Hernandez join us today. Jessica, welcome again.
Thank you, Father.
Could you please give us a little bit, you're talking about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Jessica Maciel Hernandez, and I'm the coordinator for Hispanic Youth and Young Adult Ministry for the Diocese of Des Moines. My ministry focuses on Hispanic youth, but I collaborate with Justin White in different aspects of youth ministry in general.
Do we have any kind of numbers that probably the youth Catholic population in our diocese?
I personally don't know the whole youth, population, but, within the southwest area of Iowa, the rural areas seem to have a growing youth population. So we think, within the metro, there's definitely all youth present within the parishes. So, not a specific, percentage, but it's growing, definitely.
Absolutely. So are you originally from Mexico?
I am, yes. I was born in Mexico City, and I moved here when I was 7, direct to Des Moines, Iowa. So, my mom and I and my grandma, we all moved here, and I went to Iowa State, grew up on the south side of Des Moines. I graduated with a degree in microbiology, and then after that, I worked some time in the science field, but after that, God was calling me to something else, and, here I am, so.
Excellent. So, which part of Mexico did you
Mexico City, the capital.
The capital.
The actual capital of Mexico City, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No snow like Des Moines today?
No, not at all, no. It's, from what I remember, I can still remember quite a bit of it, but, very busy, taking 2 to 3 buses, a day just to get to one place, walking all the time, we didn't really have a car over there, so it was very moving, very fast-paced, very progressive, so.
Right. When you said that these scientific studies and very disciplined studies moving to the faith land, how would you describe that transition?
I'm still getting used to it. I was taught to think analytically, methodically, just because my scholarship program that I was with, led me to have a career in a STEM field career, a science career. So, the pace in ministry is very guided by the Spirit. It's very at God's pace, and when you're in the scientific field, you're used to seeing results, even if they're bad results, but you're used to seeing results. So when you don't see the fruits of maybe your work, in ministry we say we plant seeds. We don't necessarily see the fruits all the time. So planting seeds in science, you want to see the plant grow. You make it grow. You make everything possible for it to grow. But in ministry, sometimes you have to be satisfied and trust in God that you planted the seed and God will make it grow on its own.
So we can describe that you have been growing in terms of faith through the scientific mind to the spiritual and deeply context with God. Jessica, how you can describe the present time of faith for our youth people? How you can tell us what is the expectation in terms of faith for our youth?
I think one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have with today's youth is that if we don't have them active, then they're not growing in their faith, or we're not keeping them interested. And that's the complete opposite. Youth, whether they're Hispanic youth, Anglo youth, all types of youth, they want depth. They want to have that personal encounter with Jesus Christ. And they're longing for that deep encounter, not a superficial encounter, not just something passive, but a really deep encounter.
Excellent. So how we can help in our youth as adults, as a church, as a diocese, and also from our parish to coming together to join the same boat in terms of faith?
Yeah, so with my work that I do, since my work focuses on Hispanic youth, I actually work a lot with Hispanic youth and Hispanic young adults that are, immigrants, actually. And within that context, one thing that has stood out for, accompanying the youth and these young adults has been solidarity. When you stand in solidarity with them, and this is for all youth really, you go a long way. You really get to their heart and actually are able to present Christ to them through your own life.
Excellent. So one of the question that for many people, what we can do with all those dreamers. We call dreamers in some social political context, but also we can call dreamers them in terms of faith, in terms of theology. It's a lot expectation for this youth generation. How we can approach this migrants' reality in terms of faith, in terms of compassion, in terms of solidarity.
I'm going to keep coming back to solidarity just because, the story that always pops to mind is the Emmaus story, just because you can get a lot from that story in the sense of what Jesus was to those disciples. He didn't go and just start talking. He wasn't even there trying to help. First, he just listened and walked with them. And that is one thing that I think we need to do better on as adults, as, people of faith, as friends, as just, brothers and sisters in Christ. Listen. First of all, listen. Because when you listen, then you're able to, just actually see what the person's reality is. And then from there, be able to see if you're able to even help them, accompany them, or be there with them. Because, we focus so much on trying to help the person and taking action, but sometimes we don't even know how to take action. And if we listen first, then we're able to, see how God is guiding us to take action.
How understand the faith of the youth? I asked you a little bit before, but right now I like to use in a different way this question. How understand the relationship from youth people to God?
Yeah, I've worked on many retreats that, like I said, people think they need to be interactive, they need to be doing something, but the times that I've mostly seen where youth have that personal encounter and where I've seen their faith really flourish has actually been times where they've been exposed to some sort of sacrament, whether it's reconciliation or even it's not a sacrament, but it's something important, moments of adoration, with the Blessed Sacrament. When youth are exposed to that, they have that personal encounter that they are not able to get anywhere else. Not through, their social media, not through reading an article, not through reading a book, not even through necessarily community. They have that personal encounter. So the sacraments and bringing back the sacraments and the significance of them is one way to, get to them and reach out to them and actually understand, what they're longing for.
How is the integration between Hispanic youth, Catholics, and Anglo-Hispanic, Anglo youth as well? How are they coming together? How is your experience?
Yeah, they go to school together, they play sports together. It's when it comes to their faith life that sometimes you have to just be aware of the different cultural aspects of them. For example, we talk about the faith language a lot within my work. Hispanic youth are bilingual, they know English and Spanish, but when it comes to their faith language, it's in Spanish. No matter what teaching they're from the church they're learning, they'll learn it in English, but for example, most of them, don't know the prayers in English. They know them in Spanish, but they don't know them in English. So as long as, that cultural aspect is kept aware and, present, Hispanic youth and Anglo youth are able to come together, but those cultural differences have to be at least made present within the context of integrating them.
So differences, different to say barriers. Differences means we can growing together.
Differences means opportunities.
Opportunities. Good,
yes,
good.
Yes, opportunities for both sides, because Anglo youth as well as Hispanic youth both have faith traditions. So it's not to say Hispanic youth can learn the Anglo traditions as well. It's just a matter of giving them opportunities to be able to have that experience, that shared experience.
That means the concept of Catholicism, universal,
Yes, exactly.
Everybody are most than welcome.
Exactly.
So, based on those experiences, could you please share with us a special and particular experience that moved in your heart and your mind, and you said, oh my Lord, this is the face of the Lord speaking direct to me?
I have more than one, thank goodness, but I think it always comes through in my work that I do whenever I'm having some sort of retreat for the youth, or I get to spend time with them, and I see them asking questions about their faith, or I see them not being able to understand something that they just experienced, and there at that moment I know that God has touched their heart, and obviously mine as well through them, but I know that there was some doubt that was instilled, but also curiosity, and a curiosity to know this love, this greater love that everyone talks about, the face of Christ, the love of Christ, and for them not to be able to fully understand it, because all of us, I don't think we all fully understand it, but for them to not understand it at that moment, but also look for someone or something to guide them towards it, is a glimmer of hope.
So Bishop Yates is very persistent to encourage all those servers as a priests and volunteers and staff from the diocese to working through the Hispanics to promote priesthood vocation and religious vocation. How is our experience with the youth in that matter?
Yeah, I think with vocations, there's a lot of misconceptions as well, with people thinking, that you just have to discern, religious vocation or for the religious life, or, the priesthood. And that's another misconception among all youth, whether it's Hispanic youth or Anglo youth, that those are the only vocations out there. And I think what we need to focus more on is the process of discerning God's call in general for your life. What is your purpose, for your life here on earth? What is the purpose that God has instilled in you, in your heart, to follow, his call? That, in a sense, is what vocations, should focus on. Just because youth think, oh, they're just trying to get me to become a priest, or oh, they're just trying to get me to become a sister, and that's not it. We want them to actually listen to God, who, calling them in their heart. So
good. How many seminarians we have from Hispanic?
Currently, we have 2 Hispanic seminarians. One
Okay.
of them is studying in Mexico, Rodrigo, and then the other one came from El Salvador about 2 years ago, Nicolas.
Okay.
So one of them is in St. Paul, and then the other one's in Mexico. But their own testimony has been has actually touched on the immigrant factor as well in the different, like we mentioned before, not barriers but opportunities.
Okay.
For them to give a witness to their faith life through those obstacles that they've had to overcome as being immigrants themselves.
We have some main events coming up. You can refresh our memories about events related to that youth ministry that you have?
Yeah, we have quite a bit of different, retreats. Personally, for myself, what I'm trying to work on is identifying key leadership within the parishes that have Hispanic community. So, there's different formation programs that are going to be starting soon for people that are interested in working with, Hispanic youth, and particularly just because we need that bilingual aspect of someone to be able to also understand the culture, both cultures as well. So I know the Office of Youth and Young Adult Ministry has some retreats for both parents and high schoolers. There's a retreat coming up just for high schoolers in general, Fanning the Flame, and then Radix is also coming up. So we also like to keep in mind World Youth Day for those youth that also, want to experience once in a lifetime experience that, from all I've heard, is everyone needs to go to at least one World Youth Day. So
absolutely needs to go. My last one was with Pope Benedict XVI in Madrid. An amazing experience. Remember that we are in Iowa Catholic Radio, 1150 AM, 88.5 FM, 94.5 FM. Be not afraid. And this morning we have a nice youth guest, Jessica Maciel Hernandez. Jessica, one more question relate to our youth people, how we can approach those realities about violence, about some socio-economical concerns, not only migration, also drugs, a lot of violence. How we can approach that?
The root of it all, a lot of it comes from, the youth not having enough attention, maybe from, in the life of the home, or broken families. From there comes depression, and leading up to all those releases of violence and drugs, and wanting to relieve that stress in other things and not our faith. So when you actually instill love in the youth, in a home setting, in school, wherever they're found, that's the attention that they need is a lot more necessary than trying to stop any drugs through legislation or violence through legislation. The attention needed for mental health specifically sometimes is very important, because from there all those other issues arise.
Thank you for sharing with that response. Also, you are part of the New Moment.
I am.
New Moment, when Bishop Pates appointed you to guide us in that project. What is the meaning of New Moment?
New Moment it comes from the inspired by the joy of the gospel, and saying that it's a new era of actually having a personal encounter with Christ ourselves, so that we could actually show that through our lives to others. And it's not about programming, it's not about sitting down and formulating an agenda or the best retreat possible. No, it's about having that personal and recognizing that personal encounter with Christ first in ourselves, so that we could actually showcase that through our lives.
Thank you. We are in Iowa Catholic Radio, 1150 AM, 88.5 FM, 94.5 FM. This is Be Not Afraid with Father Fabian.
Be not afraid. Jesus is on the way to encounter you. Join Father Fabian Moncada and Wilfredo Matamoros every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio. Also tune in Sundays at 10:30 a.m. for Be Not Afraid in Spanish. Now, hear the good news and be not afraid.
Brought to you by Associated Ophthalmologists.